Hi everyone, we're going to talk about Module 2, Writing in Business. Okay, our learning outcomes for this module or chapter are: write a business communication given a specific audience and purpose. We want to be able to explain the importance of audience to business communications, discuss the importance of writing a clear and focused message in business, and differentiate between the types for writing positive, negative, and persuasive messages. The purpose of communication is to have the sender's idea that they have in their mind reach the receiver's mind with identical understanding. That's perfect communication, and it rarely happens. Communicating is not as simple and transparent as the image below suggests. Communication is surrounded by potential pitfalls and myriad opportunities for the main point to be lost or altered. Remember our story about Walter Cronkite? Good communicators are mindful of the other potential audiences when they start writing, since doing so can help advance the company and advance the career. Here's the diagram we were talking about. Downward and upward communication. Upward communication is initiated by staff and directed as executives. So if I have an organizational chart, it moves upward. Examples of that kind of communication may be a complaint or a request. Downward communication, obviously the opposite. So I've got my organizational chart with the president at the top. The communication comes down from the executive level to staff. So it might be policy manuals, rules, and regulations that we have to follow. Horizontal communication is information from peers to ones of similar rank. I keep moving my mouse to the wrong side of the page. Okay, I'm not going to do the activity. The right message highlights purpose to narrow and organize communication, creates clear and efficient communication, focuses on positive, negative, and persuasive messages. So you have to be able to gauge how your audience is going to feel about the message. If I say the Blue Cross Blue Shield representative won't be able to make it to the to our location today. Well, that's bad news, but am I going to be really upset by it? No. If I send out a message that 25 people need to be let go, that's bad news, and it's going to have to be tempered in a much different way than the other message, right? Okay. So positive messages are routine or good news. I always found this kind of odd, but it includes sympathy messages just in the way that they're written. They're not a positive message by any means, but we're trying to give comfort, so I guess that's where the positiveness comes from. Negative messages are bad news that I want to avoid quitting. A refusal to provide a refund, a cancellation of an event, all would fall into negative too. And there's specific ways we want to present our bad news message in order to get it read. Because if I send you a letter and say, I can't hire you for this position, and I start with that, you're not going to read the rest of the message because you're bad news, throw it away. No one likes to be the bearer of bad news. So I have to be cognizant of the fact of the way I write it in order to increase the probability that you will read the entire document. Because there may be in there, I've got another position that I think you might be great for, but if I don't read that far, I never know that. Persuasive communications needs encouragement to act as the sender desires, or when a receiver is reluctant. When I talk about persuasive messages, I like to refer to Home Shopping Network. Yeah, it's not a written communication, but they do a lot of tricks about persuasive that are very persuasive, and we'll talk about them later. Okay. So writing for the reader, keep in mind that the audience is the receiver of our message, and focus on how, as a writer, you can best convey that message. Remember the you-view concept. It puts the receiver's needs before the sender's needs. I can say we're offering a discount on our printers this week, or I can say You can take advantage of our sale on these great new printers. Same information, but presented in a much more positive way. And not only that, it may cause me to visualize myself buying that computer, that printer, and not focusing on the seller. I'm focusing on me. It starts with what the receiver needs to know. Language can be an obstacle. Cliches are overused common sayings that make writing boring. We've talked about jargon before as technical terminology of a characteristic idiom of a special activity or group that can alienate the audience, leading to disengagement. Slang is less formal and less credible. I might not believe you as much if you use a lot of slang in your talk. Euphemism and doublespeak address the unpleasant topics in a polite way, disguises the actual meaning. Bias-free writing. We want to be gender bias. Use both genders. Keep in mind that the gendered pronouns. You can always use the singular they. As a general rule in a business setting, we do not mention a person's race or ethnicity unless there's directly relevant to the situation. We want to avoid labeled nouns. Concise writing. Remember how I said I liked concise writing? Sentence-like is one subject, one verb phrase related to the reader. Simple and to the point. Expressing ideas accurately, prepositions avoid with or of. Use verbs. They're much more engaging than nouns. I'd much rather be communicating than in the process of communication. Reduce extra words. They detract from the meaning, and avoid repetition. For example, an unexpected surprise. Well, aren't all surprises unexpected? So why do I need that extra word? Avoid passive voice, which makes writing flat. Note the use of to be verbs. She was falling versus she fell. Much more direct and clear to use she fell. How do you identify passive voice? Well, something is happening. The subject is not doing that thing. For example, if I say, I got up and, no, I don't want that one. I did my homework. I am the doer of the action, and that makes it active voice. But if I say the homework was done, same meaning, but it's passive by not saying that I did it. Clarity, precision, try to be clear and specific. Use plain words, focus on the reader's understanding. And lists, draw attention, add white space emphasis. We want to use graphic highlighting when we can. And graphic highlighting is everything like bolding, italicizing, highlighting, etc. Anything that changes makes my words stand out from the rest of the document. But be very, very careful. You really don't want to have more than 3 graphic highlighting within 2 pages and then going forward relationship-wise. Now, the problem is that if you use it too much, it loses its meaning. I used to have a document that someone sent me, and it had to have 20 graphic highlighting on the page. Well, I lose all the benefit. So you want to make sure that you're drawing attention, but not drawing attention 25 times. Okay, parallel construction. A lot of students have problems with this. Messages are easier to absorb for the reader. It means I treat everything the same, and it could be a series of items. It could be a prepositional phrase. It could be the way the verbs are set up. So here's an example. Yara loves running, swimming, and hiking. All 3 are the same. But I can't say Yara loves running to swim and biking, because now I'm treating swimming differently. I got to look at the first sentence, or the first object. In this case, we're comparing a series, and it's in the ing form. So I want every item to be in the ing form. Okay, emphasis helps readers easily access intended message. What is appropriate differs in the age of texting and social media. Remember that business communications is a part of the professional setting. While humans write the communications, the situation remains one company communicating to another or a customer. Okay, so we're going to talk about the three-part writing process. The first thing we do is we plan our message. It can take a great deal of detail, and it determines how the receiver will likely feel about the communication. It enables the writer to document progress. We use pre-writing, such as an outline, that can guide you toward a particular goal. Messages contain news, state point, reasons support news, goodwill and action should be appear in your closing paragraph, and buffer, negative, and persuasive message. And what a buffer is, we tend to put off the bad news for a little bit, but we start with something we could agree on. For example, if I have a receptionist who asks to work 9 to 5:30 instead of 8:30 to 5, I have to say no. I can say, this is a great employee. And I could tell her about that. You are just a great employee, and, customers comment all the time on how nice you are and what a great smile you have and how they feel welcome when they walk through the door. We'd hate to lose you, but we can't do those hours because that's not the hours we're open. So that was a buffer leading into the bad news. Okay, so planning business messages. Persuasive message, you have to determine how likely the receiver is going to comply with the sender. It's organized by awareness, interest, desire, and action. Opens with a positive or negative message. Should be attention grabbing. You want to discuss the details. So, for example, I might have a persuasive message that I'm trying to get someone to bring a convention to Niagara Falls. I might start off with, imagine standing next to 150,000 gallons of waters going over a precipice of 50 feet every minute. I'm selling the area. I'm trying to get them to visualize standing next to Niagara Falls. Now, granted, I made up those numbers, so if you work at the falls and you know exactly how tall it is, please don't be mad at me. All right. Post planning, we need to craft words and phrases. We need to make everything flow. Must have writing skills. You want to have subject lines, construct buffers, negative words and tone, look out for them. We want to use that you view that we've talked about. You have to be thinking about a lot of things when you're doing the proofreading, and it's probably, I've read textbooks that say 50% of your time should be on this post planning. I think it's a bit extreme, but all right, how to write persuasive, positive, and negative messages. I have another lecture in here on that topic. Okay, receiving business messages, rearrangement, and fine-tuning of the draft is a highly critical step. Use the two-step revision process. I always proofread twice. The first time I read for punctuation and word choice, and the second time I read it for flow. Does it make sense the way I'm doing it? Do I need to change things? Okay, so we want to use, and I can't imagine anybody's not using some type of word processor. You want to have non-indented paragraphs, leave a blank line in between paragraphs. 2 lines, between paragraphs. The left margin should be a straight line. The right margin should be ragged. Some people like to make it straight, but there's actually been studies that the eye reads faster if you have one line be ragged. Font size should be 10 or 12. No 16s. No trying to get away with doing less writing. Okay, business letter format. I talk about that in my other video, and memo and email as well. The style, you want to have some white space between words. Lists should be in an easy to understand pattern. It should be parallel the way they're set up. If the first line starts with a verb, it should be verbs going on down. Headings should guide, provide messages, and then they talk about sans serif and serif writing. It shows you how to do the line spacing and lengths and spell check. Please spell check your papers. Nothing is more upsetting than something that's not spell checked. There's also Google Docs. I don't like format papers turned in that. Please use the PDF form if that's the case. All right, thanks everybody.